After 5 straight losses, Harold shakes his head and pushes back from the table. It's impossible, he insists. At last, Ima says, finally somebody around here's got the best of Harold Bost. I excuse myself and escape to the parking lot. The midday heat is a welcome change from the senior center's icy cold air conditioning. In the shade of an oak, I watch 2 boys playing in the grassless patch of yard. One of them is acting out an invented scene from the abandoned ones. Come in, Affliction Corps, he commands into the radio-shaped rock. This is Normand internment camp. We are under attack. Repeat, under attack. The United Nations is bombing the puppies. The other boy is not interested in battling the Antichrist. He has focused his attention on the peach pit, which he is prying open with the flathead screwdriver. My brother told me that that little seed in there tastes like 7-Up, he says. That is all the encouragement the other boy needs to abandon playing abandoned. He retrieves the almond-shaped heart from the pit and bites off half and starts a fit of spitting. You'd have to call it ook-aid, he complains. Worst tasting stuff I've ever had. It's like poison. And then they see the dog napping in a patch of bare ground under a china berry tree next door. Come here, baby, one of the boys says sweetly, holding out the peach pit to the bleary-eyed dog. It sniffs the morsel for a moment, then returns to its china berry slumber. Oh, man. I have always been in the grip of the idea of universal catastrophe. Call it Armageddon, call it the apocalypse. I have always been awaiting the end of the world. Consider the dreams of childhood. The stranger once said that our earliest dreams often foretell our destiny. We should put them in the movie, he said. We'll cast you as the hidden king, the child of noble birth who is placed with an anonymous or ordinary family while still an infant, and yet the truth cannot be entirely concealed. The destiny is foreshadowed in nocturnal visions. Those earliest visions are not pleasant to recall. Would you think it too dramatic if I told you those nearest me seemed to be bringers of death? I know. How can I say such terrible things? My parents would be heartbroken to hear that I thought they were anything less than stellar. Did they not give me everything I needed and every reasonable thing I wanted? Was I not afforded every opportunity to become a perfected being? Certainly the blame for this failure is mine alone. I am a preschooler, more than 5, receiving presents from my parents. Kenner Easy Show projector, G.I. Joe Mercury, space capsule, hi-ho, cherry-o, typical toys of the 1960s. But this is not my birthday or Christmas. The gifts mean my parents want their only child to have a pleasant experience before handing him over to the devil. The transfer begins right after the gifts, so I don't even get the chance to enjoy them. We are in my bedroom of our house on Cherry Street in Duncanville. I cautiously approach the twin bed with early American bedspread, a tapestry of British and American soldiers engaged in cannon battle. It is a foot or 2 from the wall and window, forming a narrow gap into the dark unknown. I peer over the side of the bed into this abyss and see the tail of the devil flicking back and forth. The tail has the familiar diamond shape on the end. The rest of it is covered in short hair, like a lion's tail, a lion-demon hybrid. So that's it. I am to be consumed. My mother and father both work, so I spend my preschool years with babysitters. One of them lives in a garage apartment, a home for cars. Dream after dream, she makes me sit on a fireplace mantel in the dark. I am a knick-knack, an ornamental contrivance. The circumstances of this mantle sitting vary, sometimes mixed with the dream memories. There is a waking life recollection of older neighbor girl who threatens me with a leather belt, which she cracks like a whip. Always I am threatened with severe physical punishment if I get down, and if I should ever fall, it will be even worse. I will be transformed into a statue. I know this because I saw it in another vision, one in which I stand at the end of a long, smooth game surface. I look down over the end into the abyss and see the sailboat that slid too far. Lying next to the boat is a man turned statue. He reminds me of the pilot who used to sit inside the airplane on the roof of the Skyview Motel in Waco. This dead mariner is forever fixed in a sitting position, hand poised for a rudder. This is a terrifying location, peering over the edge of life and death. Now, a different babysitter's house, outside playing with children in the front yard. I see my dog, a black poodle named Tinker, running with some of the kids. His ears are flying behind him. He's having a great time. This is a surprise, though, because Tinker should be at home on Cherry Street, the other side of town. Suddenly, the babysitter's older, mean son chases down my dog, runs him into the ground. This will be bad, death for sure. I ask the boy not to hurt Tinker. He's my dog. So the boy waits for me, Tinker cowered at his feet. But when I arrive at his side, I see that it is not Tinker at all. Instead of my happy, energetic puppy, I see a sad-eyed creature wearing a floppy straw hat with plastic flowers pasted on the side. A sad old southern lady dog ready to hoe collards in her vegetable garden. Both fearful and relieved, I tell the boy that it is not my pet. I walk sadly away, leaving the terrified gardening dog to the older boy. Not so tender mercies. I should have tried to save her. One of my grade school teachers stands naked in front of the class talking to the boys. No girls are present. We can't believe our good fortune. This teacher is the only miss in our grade, a young divorced woman with dark hair parted in the middle. The boys all think she is hot. Don't laugh or she'll quit, one boy says. So we all put on our best serious faces and pretend to listen, staring in silence. This is the first time I've seen a naked woman, but I know enough that I am not surprised by her appearance. She has no penis, only testicles. Isn't this normal female anatomy? I must take some unpleasant medicine. It is chlorine bleach, a proper treatment for the whitening of dark innards. But how can I choke this down? Mom mixes it with ice cream. This is awful, but she tells me I must eat it. I must take my medicine. Our antique grandfather clock is possessed, haunted. The hands are spinning wildly, the chimes are off key, cold and distant, and the spirits inside are calling to me, Rhine, Rhine, Rhine. My father bought the clock in Germany, brought it home in the belly of a Texas Air National Guard KC 97, so perhaps the ghosts are homesick for the fatherland. Visiting relatives, poking around interesting artifacts in their junk-filled garage. One of my cousins finds an old Popa man robot, a once popular but now long obsolete life-size toy that resembles a crash test dummy. They're easy to operate, but put the Japopa man in several Japopa popping chair, in the special Japopa popping chair, which charges and activates the robot by bouncing it up and down like a pilot in one of those old failed flying machines. I don't think my cousin should reawaken this long sleeping robot. Let sleeping robots lie, I say, but she and others do it anyway. They put the robot in the chair and crank it up. Soon the Japopa man rises from the chair, staggering around like a village drunk. All the kids laugh, but this cannot end well. Surely Japopa man will be misunderstood. He will be chased down by torch-bearing villagers and burned alive in a Dutch windmill. Visiting my girlfriend's house, her family is there, including a little brother. He is sitting at a coffee table working on his coin collection. I wish that I had some valuable coins to give him. This would make me look good in front of the girl and her family, like a normal, friendly young man. It would be nice to appear normal, all for the bargain price, a few pieces of silver. A man decides to conduct an experiment in which he will spend a short amount of time inside a pizza oven, perhaps 15 minutes. My job is to close the door behind him and open it at the proper time. I agree to do so as a favor, so surely I am not to blame for the terrible tragedy that befalls him. The experiment begins, proceeding on remarkably, but as this is a pizza parlor, I become distracted by the demands of business. Lots of customers, so many that I forget the man I've shut up in the oven. When I finally remember him, it has been 45 minutes. I rip open the oven door, but it is too late. He is dead. His legs look normal enough, but the top half of his body is melted to the surface of the oven. It looks like a pair of legs protruding from a puddle of overcooked mozzarella. I know I am in trouble now. I get a sick feeling inside and run away, but there is no escape. It is only a matter of time. I am a killer. While sitting in a chair, possibly tied to it, I am shot in the chest with a pistol. Point blank, I feel no pain, yet the wound is fatal. I know that I am dead, or soon will be. Indeed, others in the room already regard me as dead, a remnant of the past. They walk past, not even bothering to look my way, but I can still observe them, and I wonder what will become me. The conclusion of time comes in my sleep. My parents wake up early. While it is still dark, we step outside onto the front porch of the Woodacre Circle house. I look out at our little town. The house have been destroyed. All that remains are brick chimneys rising above the smoking ruins like blackened obelisks. The fires of destruction burn red in the broken hearths. The world of my childhood is no more. On a skateboard, moving rapidly down the school hallway, closed door lies ahead. I am moving too fast to stop. There will be a terrible collision, but just as I reach the door, someone opens it and I pass through unharmed. Every 50 feet or so, I encounter another door, and each time someone opens it just in time for me to pass through. The process is repeated perhaps a dozen times. Meanwhile, I continue to gain momentum. There is nothing to stop me now. Out in the darkness, a strange man, perhaps a monster, is trying to break into the house. He is coming for me. My father is away on a trip. My mom is sleeping on the sofa. I attempt to rouse her. There is a man trying to get into the house. Oblivious to my pocket, she waves me away with a sleep-heavy hand. There's no such thing as men, she mumbles, then rolls back into her slumber. The stranger, I thought he was to be my shadow, and I was to be the famous, but I have misapprehended my dreams, my vision. In truth, he is the original. I am the secondary character, the carbon copy. I think of Borges, of Borges, and like him, I am contemplating the other one. The stranger is becoming the one called Mark Leach, the one things happen to. I must exist, let myself go on existing, so that this Mark Leach may engineer his epic film, which is intended to validate me. It is no exertion for me to admit that he has attained some legitimate footage, but I fear that footage will not rescue me from myself. I cannot rescue me from the legends of the desolate borderlands, from the mental pastimes of era and perpetuity. Those things belong to the stranger now. In last year at Marienbad, an intertextual meditation, Thomas Belzer wrote that if you go to the movies too often, you may never come back. Your own life may become a fiction. But other than the fictions of childhood, what belongs to me? What is to become of me? At home at night, I have a promised phone call. Hello, this is Anna and Ruckus. I want to worry about dreams. I can't believe Agenda, the paper of record of the paper of the for the world, wants to do a story about my incredible revelation about. In all this, the stranger may be right. This may be the Twilight newspapers, but they're not dead yet. People still read, and when they read something in Agenda, they believe it. Not like some ridiculous cinematic fraud with the mechanical tornado and a paranoid fantasy about a bottled water company creating the world's first private owned and operated deity. Can you believe my own paper isn't even interested? That's incredible. Says this may be the most important story of the hydrocarbon, perhaps the entire modern world. I want to document the vision at the end of I keep a dream journal. Would you like me to overnight copy? Dateline DFW Airport. I stand at the end of Gate 19 waiting for passengers of Delta Flight 3519 from Omaha. Reporter's notebook and pen in hand, I'm ready to commit some genuine daily newspaper reporting, but I'm not optimistic about my chance for success. Come on, Leach, guy had protested, drawing out at the first syllable of my name, friendly but mocking tone. It's a great story. Travelers of Jet A flying over the heads of travelers of the Conestoga A. But when your final descent, people are busy but gathering up their possessions, I protested. They're putting tray table upright position. If they were looked for them to see encampment beyond the perimeter in something as big as centennial way. All you need to do is talk to a few arriving passengers, get some snap, write it right, and you got it. Of course, it has not, as I had predicted, and arriving passengers have seen West Wagon train from their cabin window. And what about just getting has been quite an accomplishment. Few travelers are proving to be the worst. Few travelers will stop long enough to talk to me or even go at my present traveling are proving to be they won't even. I'm certain that I'd weigh $100 bill in front of them and wrecking. Some of the solo travelers and several couples have actually stopped to shake the exchange of bemused, doubt-filled sympathy. Newspaper gesture, leaping about concourse with a pointy cap on my head and bells on my shoes, or perhaps a Hare Krishna undisguising his shaved head, short wig, temporary trading the white robe and finger symbol, a dress shirt tie. Myself, boots of Delta passenger. I dig a quarter out of my pocket. State desk editor who has conceived the wagon train. I'm above. It is to be part of a day package with wag ho logo phrase. One occasional preceding the text, except that now is short. Soft, are you sure? Incredulous Larry Brolin asks. Larry, disappointed that his grand idea is not panning out successfully. About to shoulder. Well, try a few more flights and call me back. Larry says tiredly. If you don't see anything, I bet nothing like this ever happens at your Agenda. Of course, I have intention of ambushing arriving past dead at the Broly simply work CPR Corp event staffer by a date to 19 could give his expired ID reporting it, so I decide to kill the reporting time. After a quick dose, I take an actor to the lower air trans cars empty to pick last seat so I can progress in the elect power tram roll of the dim terminal to the blue Texas sun in the tram's channel. The receding authorized person signs along, but I see no signs. I myself in some of the science fiction movies, some science fiction. Charlton Heston, the vast technostructure that used to operate on automatic pilot, kind is dead. Continue to receive my electronic bill payer service to keep the electricity to my debit, to fill tank ATMs, to feed me currency, that dispense Dr. Pepper at 10 to 4 and any other time I desire. A few automatic stop, no passengers. I go tired of the long D-board and the terminal. I want quiet strip, just me and walkways, lines, walls of Baroque, leafed frame, Carrara. Unexpectedly myself could the fossil of a dinosaur interpret plaque that the animal which workers bring construct airport hydrocarbonate. Bone case behind dark illustrations, Roman column thresholds, oblique hallways leading to the deserted meet. Established your time rooms where steps are Berber were found so deep that one perceives no step. The wall looking to kill a few more. Call to Larry Bro, absently rubbaging through the I pick up latest copy. A supermarket style tabloid that's government. It's one of my guilds. I'm surprised extensive with Dr. Adelpho concerning side of the Purple Sunset. This game is actually based on a real endeavor. It was initiated inside the federal administration covertly to influence and manage the population. 1967 titled Clock Scan. Its staff was discontinued in 68. Intent of the scheme was to go into a person's internal condition and make it happen. His by detonate. It also entailed placing brain management equipment in the equipment projected brain direction device of a clock for on the people of the planet. What organization operated that Flying Device Research Center, FRC, which had additional fields control at the juncture? FDRC was operated by Drinkoff, one of the Black International, is administered through the Department of Defense. The DoD is running Project Clock Scan in cooperation with a variety of extraterrestrial orbs coming course depending interspecies political atmosphere. The C group, which is shorthand for categories, currently as tech consultant. Tell us about the Cadians. The Cicadians are extraterrestrial insects. They are giant insects with huge compound eyeballs of pure metaphor, and the waking world of the dead kept perfect. They have been into the clandestine at least 40 or some occasion of a relationship dating to the night. You're talking about Aurora, Texas, El Camino Terrestre. Actually, I'm talking about the Strange Rest Project. I thought that's just a myth, part of the Society of the Purple Sunset. It's real. Society of the Purple Sunset is a mythic game based on reality. This is tied into the Corpus experiment as well as Fun and Fort Worth 2. You're talking about Umbrella? Yes. Do the politicians learn scan to continue the project? But the board of directors headed straight for the arm, suggesting the technology of public electronic entertainment. Back in those pre-on days, it was just TV broadcast. Manipulated our terrestrial, both at home and abroad. The generals were by the colony permit use of the bunkers under the old Strangers Rest against the project with a grant from Nazi government. The Nazis financed the project. See, Hitler had escaped from Germany's second most loyal follower, including whose faked suicide was a Nazi fool and the $20 in gold bullion. He used to finance government in exile. He traveled a U-boat, but he transported the had brought down with one of its 2 rocks. The aliens had equipped clock with a detonator, which Hitler's scientists believed could convert the heavens to flames, but the Germans never could figure out how to make it work. If they had, the war would have been over in 72 hours, and you and your grandchildren speak German today. Do you recall the reincarnate case? Interesting. Harry reincarnate industrialist who lived 1950 as he was driving factory. His function was caught up in taking a cloth. The occupants in dark apparel and spoken Creole with a decidedly Uruguayan accent. He thought they might have returned, transported back aboard the clock all time. He started telling Fritz about his but then he was visited by federals who told him he'd better stop talking if he knew it was good for him. Then they put him in a psychic sanatorium. 5 months he came of the shadow of his business penny. It was a major news story. So Hitler wanted to learn how to use the weapon, and this was a few months before he was comatose. They suspended him in a submerged ice system, which is based on circadian exoskeletal biology. It is their young years before emerging in the wing stage of their cycle. This system was delivered to Hitler's Cicadians, who had the Fuhrer into a skeletal shell and out of the way before he did, and the Cicadians, quite peaceful, so were very troubled with the events of the Second Earthly conflict, so it was all prearranged. Hitler was suspended at nation, and that would be the end of it. But Hitler didn't want to wait until eventual thawing and revival to have his Third Reich victory. He said, I want to init the 1,000 years before I go into hibernation. He thought the researchers, clock scan, to be able to figure out how to operate the detonator, but before they could give him his new final solution, he had a massive stoke and had to be frozen. Is the one world government involved in prolonged existence? Of course, because it takes so long to realize these goals. When you arrive at that intensity of political power, you find that the brain global leaders are distorted and manipulated by exposure to circadian DNA, which is in fact based on fluoride. They are totally dependent on insect technology and biology. As I scan the story for more about Strangers Rest, my attention strays to a young family across Concord. They sit in the gray vinyl seats, mom and dad buried in paperback as two sons play around the carry-on bags at their feet. The boys are a blur of slapping hands, swinging feet, and smacking mouths, which they stuff with a steady stream of Skittles candy. They remind me of my own son, and for a moment, I feel a bit wistful. That is, even until they remind of my boys a bit too much. Mama, Joey scratched my arm. One of them says, rapidly blinking his eyes and shedding a credible tear. The other responds with a louder yelp, then recklessly pounds his own arm, whines something about how he's been wrong again and again and again, and he wouldn't stop. The father says nothing, and I feel myself tense up, waiting for what I am sure the mother's inevitable screeching at first. After all, I have been in position time, engulfed in sensorious dread, but to my surprise, the outburst never occurs. Instead, the mother speaks soft, soothing words to both of the wounded children, hands them some bauble from her purse, and all is well again. Then she returns to her reading, all without so much as raising her voice. I am amazed, shouting, incredible. The wife turns to her husband, speaks few more quietly. He smiles, replies, and both of them laughing. They are happy to death. I must confess that I cannot conceive such a cordial exchange with Alice, and she is an incredibly beloved person. Ask any of her friends, she is the companion wants to have. She is the perfected being, but me, I am not such a desired companion, an outsider. I am Clark Carring, returning home after an alternate reality erases the previous discord, separation, and impending divorce. I find it both pleasant and strange to return to the house from which I have been banished by court or the previous year. Parking the Lexus spot, I was tussling the hair of 11's son. He sits to the TV, myself a dirty blue cheese olive course, as my blood puts the finishing touches on the savory yet nutritious dinner. Can you believe it? I am still married, still a family, and life good. My copy of The Voice of God, found in the bookcase in my study, does not mention it resembles no book I've ever seen. The text begins the first page, no fly sheet, no title page, no acknowledgements. The only reference to a publisher, a brief mention in the back cover, another exciting dream graphic from In Time's book. Visit us on today. I'm preparing to plug in when a spousal scream hits me from across the house. I hustle into the kitchen to find my beloved feeling a bit less than loving. I'm trying to get dinner on the table. She complains, can you at least set the table and get Brian to wash his hands? Of course, I didn't need any help. Right, we have dinner every night. The food has to be cooked. The table has to be set. I didn't think I'd have to tell you that. I can't do everything. Back in the day, this is the place in the story where the people expect to see Mrs. God engage in a dinner time scene of marital discord, perhaps an oblique reference to the Dairy Queen, a suggestion that Mrs. God suspects I am squirting my love inside my 22-year administrative assistant with the big boobs and the tight ass. Does she suspect there is, or rather was, something between us? Or perhaps we would sit at the table in silence, glaring at one another across the top edge of competing daily newspapers, as occurred in Citizen Kane, a movie about a man who wanted everyone to love him. The desire to be loved. Back in the day, this is what marriage was all about. Some men believed that what they really wanted was to hear one special woman say, I love you, but they were fooling themselves. For here's the truth, during the last days of planet Earth, what really wanted is in their heart of hearts was to be loved by every God, which is to say, they wanted to be loved because you are a superior being, because you are worthy of love than mere mortals. This is the real thing. This is true love. I tell you, my beloved creation, true love is better than all affection. True love prompts the superior being to create a universe. True love motivates the superior being to bring light to a world that is without void. Admittedly, true love sometimes prompts the superior being to let bad things happen to people. When the superior being has been violated, true love makes him turn women into pillars of salt. True love makes him cover the earth in murderous flood. And yes, true love even makes him bring about the terrible calamity. But how can it be otherwise? True love does not depend on lovable actions. That is why true love is absolutely required by the superior being. True love is received not because of what you do, but simply because of who you are. But simply because of you are. As for me and Allison in true love, such a scene is not in the script. Oh sure, maybe once along the dim recesses of my vaguely recall a time when I thought she was happy with me, and we were happy. I'm sure of the two perfected beings. I remember us in our waking worlds, walking hand in hand at the mall across my shoulder. But no, this memory is not. I do require it. I am perfect without it. I'm perfect. I am hand to death. I sit here with you the warmth, but I feel oddly cold. Yes, you can see that I'm shivering. Did I tell you the forest walls were beating? There were 9 pairs too. I see them on the tarmac outside the window. A nest of tiny white egg. They hatching into an army of hungry wolf spiders picking at bones. Again I advanced toward the combination gas station in Germany bakery in West Texas, carried by the twilight wind across the rolling prairie in old barbed wire fence, wind whistling through tombstones. An all dark rip has appeared in the long lank shot panning the valley of shadow, gemstone cranium of mist and haze, a gloom of unfilled spaces. On an astral cattle trail paved in stone, ginger-colored exasperation, we come to the ford in the creek, the resonance of running and a pale flash of dead cold-eyed Jonah, gone bluish-white beneath the still surface of the dark Gulf water. Cold flesh dissected by albine brain crabs, screaming seabird, twilight fish jumping, a concerto of amphibians and mounds and jellyfish with seagrass growing through, all alone, just me, dead, and the stranger. He steps out from behind a potted palm, switches off the boot. I'm told there's then one way to show that you love someone. Manage to find it. Perhaps we do not receive love because we are not capable of administering it. We are not yet a perfected being to be both imperfect and love. Now you're just talking crazy. Dinner in the house that Jack built, but first our host finishes tan Victorian-style faint couch, something his wife picked up shortly after their wedding, and has still failed to retrieve her post-Jack life, hoping to render it usable. Jack has turned it into a centerpiece of his tanning salon. The centerpiece of his tanning salon, corner of the lost the scent of rum coconut tanning oil upholstery. Jack reaches up to adjust the tanning that buzzes inside black flow. You make it sound so sordid. You're adjusting a pair of dark tanning goggles. It's no big, but the feds need to declare Dad's sanctuary insolvent. Rockwall Bank. The stranger says it's years ago, but I still remember the call report. A ton of bad loans, real estate, photovoltaics, big deal, Jack Rocks, everybody's getting spring exam will come on Thursday, how do you, they always come on Thursday, I explain, right before time. A prophet is never in his own country. The strange we were still in college when Andrew Bryson purchased Rockwall Bank, a sleepy little GNC. He quickly transformed into one of the fastest growing sanctuaries in the Southwest. I remember a story about it in the business section of the Dallas Times Herald. The reporter had captured a perfect quote for the Times. I told all the real estate brokers, don't bring me more apartment buildings, shopping centers, or office towers. I will guarantee credit. The stranger remembered too. There was a photo that ran story he recalls. I even recall something posed in his third floor corner off of Rockwall Bank's glass ride. Dressed in a gray banker's suit with red power tie, Mr. Bryson sits tall, saddled behind his expensive desk, a mound of loan files before him, and the North Dallas tollway throbbing below, a giant 220-volt electrical cord snaking through the Texas state, plugging him straight into the go-go 8. That's not what it said, Jack said. Still, it should have. But now the chairman of Rockwall Bank wasn't sitting quite so tall. Business was tough last year. Fit of ang over the sanctuary, stagnating portfolio. Drew Bryson threw his high leather desk chair down the stairwell and not replaced it until he'd restored the loss ratio to an acceptable level. That apparently wasn't going to happen anytime soon. I'd seen the most recent quarterly for Texas Sanctuary. Mr. Bryson was still using the chair his secretary picked up at Target. When I told Dad I needed another interim, he nearly busted a vessel. He said, you haven't sold any of your other specs yet, so he wouldn't give. He gave me something much better. The benefit is advice. Better just tighten a belt a few notches, Andrew says. That's right, Jack. Just tighten the belt and it's all cash until you get a house. Guess that's the downside of having your father for a banker. So did you tell him the problems? You have any cash? Oh right, you don't. Why don't I just wear a little sign on my butt that says kick me? I like Strange said. We could give it a homey treatment, something like it's a wonderful life. That's what I'm saying. I'm George Bailey. I'm begging. He's sitting there. He's Old Man Potter, king of the Bedford Falls. He just keeps on saying, the audibly cracking down, I can't do anything special because my son. Clearly the situation has turned serious. I know several developers who've had their loans called. Country records show a few have a with only a year of. But for most, it is a trusty steed, a sale the highest bidder of south except the county courthouse. There is even some talk of deficiency judgment secured, but left holding properties that aren't worth the inflated long-spent dollars generated from bogus developer fees and other accounting tricks of the Wheelers are even going to jail. I turn to the sir. You know happens, but I don't tell because he doesn't know how to respond. Jack shrugs and takes another sip of bourbon. And anyway, Dad offered me 6 month extensions on 2 loans that were about to come due. So that gives a few more months to find about. That's good news, but it didn't come cheap, did it? The stranger says that he decided to tell me that what I'd done wrong with Dawn. What you ask? Is he forgetting that Don's the one who Jack the bitter and takes a hard pull from his drink? No, he didn't get, but you see, that's what nice girls do when their husbands force them to put out for their your name was prominently mentioned. I can't quite believe Andy thinks Don odds, but I couldn't listen to it. Yeah, I was so furious. I got in his face. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Really, I cannot imagine such a response from Jack. Always the good, respect son. I think it shocked him pretty severe. He said he was sorry that it happened. We'd never talked about it before. It really never cleared the. Did he say anything? What does he know? I don't think him have done it. Not since I was conceived. No, it was just to talk through with him to clear the air before the divorce final, right? Oh yeah, Jack says, pretending to remember. To me, it's like we've already divorced. If it's not official now, fire up. While we wait in the kitchen for the charcoal to whiten, the stranger housed upon a basket with deliciously noted various credit card companies. I remember these two, he says. For a pauper, I can't complain. Jack Bryson, 12 Terrace, Res TX 7227, account none 30661776, current balance $2,700, delinquent amount due $400. Dear Bryson, we have been informed by our security department that an attempt has been to obtain clear account. It is delinquent. Further attempts are made to obtain credit account before correcting your credit privilege may be cancelled. You must contact my office to make account due. Your account is being evaluated, placed with a collection agency or attorney for the purpose of bringing a telephone department. Explain your intention for repayment. Nita Lamethorpe. It happened 2 weeks before at his favorite French Nouvelle restaurant on McKinney Avenue of Dallas. The meal ended with the waitress cutting the cart in half to pay the bill, $140 plus tip, with a company check. It was until the next day that he realized the corporate amount of Jack Bryson Holmes had been raised to a grand total of $4.02. Says you owe at least a couple of somebody. Jack, what is from Nita Lamethorpe? Elaine Thorpe says, you're on the hook for 3-term production loans totaling well over $1. I've got a concept to convert your experience to something secondhand, something planned. The only thing that bothers is that you budgeted a job, but still a buyer. A household account needs a cash infusion, but how? That's when you get a big idea, a cunningly dangerous idea to build, and it is so simple, you cannot justify. Explain to the sanctuary. My father, in the Lakes and Wood, really needed to be one more house, really need one more payment to builder to fully demonstrate the brilliance of my father's and reach that important critical that it sounds so simple. If there was some money somewhere in Texas, Dad told me prayer he heard last commercial state breakfast. Dear, please more boom. I promise I won't this time. You know, he stands or says, but Jack doesn't hear him. He is watching me thumb through the metropolitan description that Jack's wife failed forward to her new dress. I'm just getting educated, I explain. I think women to read about than they like to have. Depends on the woman. If women really are capable of having, I think it's massive sexual conspiracy, so they get the man of them they're tired of being sweated on. That was sin before me, the stranger said. They don't fake it. I know that, church. But of course you do. Why are you always in such a pleasant thought? Why bring they were sitting in a wicker basket and couldn't find it better to read than Cosmopolitan, who have played right under. I was into that now. Weinstein Chronic, because I'm the two-bodied Jack picks the Playboy and heads for the centerfold. But it doesn't help. The strange see it too. If Miss August ever faked an organ, you could find out. But that'd be tough. Your credit have spent enough. Jack be as beaten down as both of you. I thought we were. Says Jack tosses on the counter and around starved. Waiting for an hour is about p.m. A ruse to a family's. But go ahead and yourself. There's some fantastic. So what you'll the stranger. He is starving too. I'm not that fat. Try tomorrow. I play the stair. Fuck my cat. I'll be. You haven't taken a. I'm not taking one. The tanning lamp didn't sweat. What? Oh no, weak Jack. Use his woman voice. All you can think of here any better than sit around. Because when done here, instead of to bed to go with me, you talk about here. And good. The stranger, we both know it. Keys and heads for this fantastic made it. I'd between bites of things happen to the one who sympathetically still put your trust in the untrustworthy waking place to this incredible. I do not tell him about the New York try, except he advised. Observe the birth of a new. They are to fully dismiss the daemon that drives will. You are to be one of the people, the hooks that you told yourself, speak to yourself through dream. Dissension in number is unwitting transfigured by the contents. You can did not transfer. You put the clock in. You're trying to avoid excessive rush. You before became like that is before I discovered how did this to pass. Like so many of process, it came over time. Shall the process lays down. He produced his bula. You will actually, he says, handing the book, which has been delivered, marked envelope by shadowy character of the dead. We'll film that part later on the spine. Well, pretty and surprised up, he says. Exact state of shock. Magnetica, my old the years before roommate attachment. After a long period of casual memory, she dumped me for a boyfriend, called him cool, given him for the ever-presence that he am sort of bohemian prop. He had exited her, she captured him in intention plagiarism. Seems had submitted a poor long work to a small literary journal, which Magnetica was. He then abandoned her. She went to write and publish the public apology. So how that? Magnetica has a book of her own, although this was a pair of Carly flying saucer myth of things in the sky. Still, it beats anything which is to say nothing. So she says ahead of me, she's better than that's probably dumped me. Oh well, I am genuinely happy for her achievement. I present a ticking Mandela ID as our demonstrate timepieces comatose me, which forever asserts itself. Mythical cultures like prehistoric aware of the destiny, supernatural character, occasion, location. This is the concept of a contemporary legend of time observed heaven. Another exciting tome for and Wayne book. An reason coach from the land of the dead. Oh, famous had life-changing experience, ruinous encounter, or workings these clockwork mandala. What was the result? This revelatory experience. Oh, famously proposes that faith in aerial time is actually reply the bottomless of a civilized, intimidated technological iteration. She tells us that we of the West are the who have feared science would bring about the conclusion of time, of the second Earth conflict, their civilization being an ethnicity of the West. Slavo of the similar case spoke of the West stream seated without famously. Right, let us be full of that which is airborne, run to read comparable. Oh, famously is founder of the distributor concerning the livelihood of beloved bottom's reason heavenly station. She lived ethereal burial chamber, California, with her questionable gender companion, two moon cat. Now others saying about clock in and of dark aircraft soaring above our heads, lives the convincing comment made by Flamus, especially pertinent the divine marketplace of benign ID. We are overwhelmed by end of the world panic, rapture, sex, keepers of the deity, apocalyptic appointments with God. Oh, famously, fully, Artians reveal themselves collective illusion. Her reading of timepiece as stand-in for the prototype of completeness, a new force striving to assert itself in mental disintegration, luminous and intense. The twilight of satisfactory, electrifying, a tour de force, a bold new voice in America. This book will the usurping person who reads. Your world is dead, the stranger says. It no longer functions. Your life no longer functions together. Romance comes off like the symbolic remains of the 70s. I like this idea of cinema, but bad for real life. We must trust the inner world, the one that lies behind solid things. It's time you started trusting me. That is your direct. How can I trust that what I haven't right you are waiting for to go to the movies? We drive out to the derelict Highway 14 drive-in theater in the hub, turning off the asphalt onto the tree drive, gravel crunchy tread, headlights on a ranch. The stranger leaves the car running while he gets out to unlock the heavy chain. I drive past this place a couple of times a day, but there I see something new. A rebuilt stand projection. Strange, for the old one burned down years ago. How could I have missed? It's a false front built in a day. The stranger explains, just plywood and posts, same way they did the Rieta house in Giant. Go down there market today and still see the telephone poles sticking out of the ground. As we drive the property, I new sign Arcade Theater. I say new, but it actually looks old. A resurrection, faded 50s roadside advertising held tight in a tangle of broken tube. I've leased this place from Dollar Bill Buckstop for filming climax of the Battle of the Armageddon. The stranger explains, thanks to my efforts, it's actually once again a working theater. Well, my efforts and the stranger takes the dashboard view with a grand sweep of his arm that we are not. Perhaps 24 cars and are parked at the old screen. A young man with a scraggly goatee and sleeveless flannel shirt kneels on the roof of circa 60s aluminum camper, working on what appears to be a common projector oscilloscope. It's a conventional 35mm projector, the stranger explains, but it's hooked up small black with an oscilloscope on front, a coil, clear tubing, a aperture gate. He holds up a black cube with a push button pad. It's even got control. We pull up to a little speaker pole, and the stranger hangs one of the weathered speakers in his window. This one is surplus from the old Texas Stadium Drive-In Irving. He explains, look, it still says Stadium front. Who are these people? Ask. What is all this? Guerrilla drive-in move. What? Do-it-yourself movies. They're popping up everywhere, from LA to New York, big cities, small towns. Most of the time they set up in dark parking lot industrial warehouses, but they really prefer to stage there at old-time drive-in, at old drive-ins like this one. A dark-haired girl and peasants and thick black frame glasses. Taps on my window. I roll down the window. She gives a hand. Deep Elm Gorilla Drive and breathe retro. Take pleasure in retro. Deep drive-in is precisely what it to be. A cinema beneath the heavens that materialize without developed rule plots and the profit. Gorilla Drive is serving to rescue community and change our metropolitan surround into the pleasant world of recreation that it meant to be. Grab your ectoplasm-stained bedspreads, grass stool, sexually willing acquaintance, prepare to exchange jug wine, oral sex, or oral wine, jug sex, salty nibbles, vintage cutlass, black vinyl, accompanied by the wonders these B-movie sci-fi endowments are greeted with much appreciation tonight at the Deep Gorilla Drive, a midnight creature feature based on the dream cinema of The Stranger. Special thanks to the creator of the concept, the Santa Cruz Gorilla Drive-In. The old Highway 114 screen, still standing after all these years, begins to flicker to life, a greenish-blue glow. The window speaker from the stadium drive crackles with static electricity. Sounds like the oceans are gaseous and liquid cinema, based a concept by Salvador Dali. The first off is called Give Me Elmo. Charlie a blast, and an obvious takeoff on the popular movie review show. But this one has a twist. The Strange Planes and Charlie movies that have not yet to be made. If they really like concept, then agree to produce. Last year they released Let Live the Nano. Hi, I'm Charlie Rabos, and I'm Elmo Plumla. Today, we begin with a review of Boom Crash, Freud Duke Dude, Two-Bodied Leach, the G and C, and what a great choice it is. The slapstick blast from this pseudo-documentary could be quite engaging. It even employs butt-scratching monks. A nod to Darwin. We could work in the Book of Revelation, let the D prepare a place the viewer have not seen since childhood. Will remind them that inside the Jonah was really free. Back shore, he was dead. And why? The certain dream message less important, though I'm still compelled to issue it. The dead, dread, its fear of specters are still accessible. And through Technicolor romance, they are coming off somehow feeling true. Two-dimensional affection is an important part of the plot, and death too, with many guts, explosion, free-flowing blood. There is an authority in death. Even the newspaper world is dead. That's the story. Call it penetrated writer. A gunshot to the heart, and yet the body continues to function. This whole process, death, because many have tried to ignore the eternal world, regard it as mutation. It has my word on. They told me to forget. That is some bad advice. The message is not. You know, Charlie, this could be Mark Leach's magnum opus, the long-awaited two-bodied masterpiece, the world as mutation. In fact, it is a metaphor for his bird, and in a new form, his face is transfigured. Next, we take a look at My Lovely Creation, a beautiful film, short, tight, but so obsessed with the egregious moral failure of ectoplasm imperfectly deployed. This masterpiece has him telling off himself, so depressed about how his DNA both creates and destroys. That's right, do not be about the rottings. Mark, unknown and cloaked in the knowledge that bars, you know, haha, and I must shake my head with great condescension. It's as if Mark Time too wishes all he had to do was become a figurative being in the land of the dead, a revelation described to the mind, a maze in a cliche contest. And for an experience just as nerd, you may want to option his badge for Tumbleweed Cowboy, a B-movie western to the world. Let's roll short up. The Tumbleweed Cowboy rides his black Nordic style through a melancholy, following the stars guide him home. Curse you, it's too dark a place to taking us through. You be taking us through, he complains, and the horse, its mutual discontent. Why can't you shine a little brighter, meet us during night? Suddenly a howling coyote winds the Tumbleweed Cowboy out of saddle, sends him cartwheel across the darkened dreamscape. He comes to rest along a tumbled down fence line, boots poking straight up the sky. He reaches trusty horse's reins, but a shooting star across the heavens scares the animal away. Dang you, stars, why you always have to go and shoot your star shooter, old Blackie, all alone, tangled up here in rusty barbed wire forever. Despite the Tumbleweed Cowboy's ignorant of basic science, shoots, of course, the stars take pity on him, guide a yellow-haired knight to his aid. But when the pretty filly arrives, she is disappointed to find that his particular cowboy is really than a ball stick. Yeah, I'd been dreaming of a carrot, says. Well, just old Tumbleweed was crying about that this unrepentant tone, the nightmare, angry. She knocks the cowboy from, stomps him into a pile of back the ram. The other Nightmares console the wrong creature. Yup, that's a man for you. Stick a carrot. Listening in the shadow, styling quietly in treachery, and flies back across the dream to the Tumbleweed Cowboy. When he arrives, sure enough, master is dead. Nothing but a broken shell. I will let you die in Tumbleweed Cowboy. The horse declares, I won't rest until your death has been avenged. But just then, a passing rodeo clown hears the stallion he lassos, expecting themselves to a traveling circus where they geld him, make him spend the rest of his days in ponies in the happy dream plus children. The stars can only shake their heads in awe the fall of horse. And attention, Mark. Kafka is holding the red phone. This could prove to be one of my Leach films. There is a land of the dead. He is about the hay. There's a con to this world, eternal sin. In preparation for the cellular split, the domestic challenge, dishes outside combination best text on the Sunday before Christmas. As he tells, he sat in the car. The sun had taken a slant. Dark was close. Interesting, but I have a question. Accepting this rather pedestrian explanation for the origin of the Tumbleweed Cowboy required of a genuine equine alien abduction. Carl, yes, Charlie. Oh, Carl's timeless. He seems to be about the idea of it all. But I'll certainly not be sending for him. Go back, Carl. I'd say the church has died. Like, actually, weren't yet. Then send over courtier. Her two body times two feel quite nicely with our off. Deny the world. It is dead. It wants to be today. Flick, nightmare, 3 hour, dreary waters is the main thing. Next, try a third dream, the voice of God. This one, to a fashion, masquerade through magnifying plexi. Don't give it away, though. Let's roll the clip. And the journey through prohibited place continues. Allison and I are in an alien society. We are fleeing people in an abandoned via stadium. The design is somewhat of the UFO's house, but on a much larger and grander scale. We spot a place almost out of sight near base where you can observe the under construction comment. The steel support as we look for a hiding place. We marble alcove, reminiscent of ancient architecture. It is perhaps the size of the room. This alcove out of sight. We realize that if we are found here, there will be no escape. We will be trapped. So we go in search of a more secure place safe. It is then that we realize there are people everywhere hurrying about search of their own place. It is growing dark, suggesting to me that the time to get out of sight. I realize we are not well suited for this. I'm wearing white box, my preferred sleeping attire, and Alice a little more than short at the top. Where to go? I see a little black man, very dark. He is sure science, and all of the obviously desperate people are. This man will rape my wife. Someone's will. Where to go? I see steps to a lower. The black man waves his hand, showing us the way down the steps like an usher in a movie theater. I will take you to a place safe, he says. I do not trust him, so I grab his hand. We bolt through a doorway to the outside. We find ourselves standing in Logia, looking out on a plaza that reminds the main square of its French Quarter. Many people are relaxed, small, all beautiful aside. They are obviously of high social caste, around people who must scratch shelter before. They are dressed, though a way I have seen a way I have never watched sport at. Each person displays a large painted eye, the eye of Horus, used to ward and bring the dead back to life. Be the case, for the eye is also used as an that's how you make it suitable. The eye of Horus is a particular at this point in the. It was the day before in the waking world that I was reading Old Testaments and his resulting in Egypt. This was his destiny. These third-eye people overly judging to be the we do not belong. They fear us. Them to act, run towards street at the Logia. This creates excitement. Abdominal and Alice explicitly holding arms breaks to a run. Another of the third-eye people produces a square, perhaps 20 per side, and places it in my stomach. Apparently, this is intended to draw attention to the abdomen, the required clobium. I try to follow a path is barred by him. He is a sort of henchman for the man in charge, who I somehow know. I try to fight him somehow. Someone hands the blade of a plastic toy sword, and in charge laughs. Someone else hands the handle. We assemble a two-piece. Even though it is a toy, I realize that injure and kill. Can kill with this weapon. I'm in charge, but I miss. He thrusts sword into my pelvis. As he draws the weapon, there is no thought, or maybe the man, that the sword is stuck inside. The pain, but I will recover from this wound. I will heal, live to fight again.